By 6 o'clock in the morning, David was dressed and ready to leave home for kindergarten. His mother handed over his backpack stuffed with textbooks, paper, pencils, and most importantly, breakfast. Breakfast was a delicious chunk of bread. Kindergarten started at 7 o'clock. After a few lessons, it was finally time for breakfast. David eagerly pulled the bread from his backpack. He was hungry. As he prepared to eat, a little boy sitting beside him spoke up. "Would you share with me?" he asked. David saw that the boy didn't have any bread. His mother hadn't packed a breakfast for him. David tore off a piece of the bread. "Here you go," he said. As the boy accepted the bread, another boy came over. "Would you share with me too?" he asked. David saw that this boy also didn't have any bread. His mother also hadn't packed him a breakfast. David tore off another piece of bread. "Here you go," he said. Then a third boy came over. David guessed right away what he wanted. He saw that the boy didn't have any breakfast and must be hungry. Sure enough, the boy had a question. "Would you share with me?" he asked. David didn't have much bread left. He wondered what to do. Then he remembered a Bible story. In the story, God's prophet Elijah was hungry, and he went to a poor mother for help. He asked the mother, "Would you please give me some water and a piece of bread?" However, there was a famine in the land, and the mother only had enough flour and oil to bake one last loaf of bread. She had planned to eat the bread with her son, but shared it with Elijah instead. God rewarded her with a miracle. He provided an unending supply of flour and oil, and the mother was able to bake bread until the famine ended. She and her son never went hungry. David had heard the Bible story in Sabbath school. The Sabbath school teacher had told the children, "You need to share with those who are hungry." David broke the last of his bread in half. "Here you go," he told the hungry boy. David and the three boys nibbled on the delicious bread. It was a good breakfast. David felt good that he had been able to help the other boys. His own breakfast wasn't big, but he didn't get hungry before kindergarten ended and he went home for lunch. The next day, the same thing happened again. When David pulled out his bread for breakfast, other boys asked him to share. David shared again, and again he felt good. After that, children asked David to share his breakfast every day. Today, David is 13 years old, and he has shared his food for 8 years. His kindness has surprised some classmates, and they ask, "Why are you sharing?" David likes to tell them the story of how Jesus shared food with a crowd of thousands of people. "I want to share like Jesus," David says. David's generosity has had a good influence on his classmates. When they saw him share his food, they also started sharing their food with those who had none. "Sometimes I feel hungry because I give away so much food," he says, "but I'm happy because I can follow Jesus' example of sharing. I believe that I'm sharing the light of Jesus with my friends." Part of this quarter's 13th Sabbath offering will help open a Seventh-day Adventist school in David's home country of Kameroon, where children will be able to learn the joy of sharing God's blessings with others. Thank you for planning a generous offering.